all hell broke loose in the House of Representatives and in the Senate as the hearings that were being held by the MAGA Republicans backfired in their face. So they had this witness, Alex Nowrasteh. He's a libertarian at the Cato Institute. And I don't know if the MAGA Republicans in the House thought this guy was going to be a favorable witness to them, but he started talking about how he goes, look, I think we should all be defending Melania Trump here because let's face it, I understand that she probably got here through immigration means that do not meet the smell test, but she's got to be around Donald Trump and not a lot of people can do that. So maybe she should get an award for that. Maybe you have to give her an Einstein visa for being able to tolerate the stench of the orange Mussolini. Watch this guy play this clip.
But I also want to defend Melania real quick. Not everybody could marry Donald Trump, and I think that's quite an achievement. So I think she deserves credit for that. Nobody up here could have done it.
You sure right. I couldn't do it. But anyway.
It's so good right here. And then Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett sees that Nowrasteh is going to be, I think, a pretty favorable witness here. So I want you to watch as she then basically takes what he says and then she's like, okay, we should talk about Melania and her Einstein visa. Yeah, she was a model, but what type of model was she really when she met Donald Trump at the Kit Kat Club in New York City, which was run by a guy who would link wealthy Manhattan business people to, quote, models from Eastern Europe. Models. Here, play this clip.
And since we're talking about integrity, I'm confused as to why my Republican colleagues aren't talking about the lack of integrity when it comes to the president's family's visas. Let me remind y'all that Melania, the first lady, a model, and when I say model, I'm not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level, applied for and was given an EB-1 visa. And what that stands for is an Einstein visa. Now, y'all that don't know, let me tell you how you receive an Einstein visa. You're supposed to have some sort of significant achievement, like being awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer, being an Olympic medalist, or having other sustained extraordinary abilities and success in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. Last time I checked, the First Lady had none of those accolades under her belt. It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathin' here.
Okay. And then the libertarian Alex Nowrasteh was really getting on the nerves of someone like a MAGA Republican Chip Roy. And a guy like a MAGA Republican Chip Roy tries to claim, right, that he's like, he has libertarian views and he's anti-government and anti-establishment. Watch what goes down here. It's unbelievable. Play this clip.
And she's one of dozens, hundreds, thousands of examples of Americans who are dead because of policies that were advocated for by the Biden administration and people parading around as libertarians. Ms. Vaughn.
Parading around as libertarians? What does that mean?
It means exactly what it means, Mr. Nowrasteh. It's my time, not yours.
That's a personal affront.
It is my time, not yours. I don't have any time to listen to libertarian claptrap.
I know you don't have any time to listen.
That is killing Americans, because that's what you're doing, and you're hiding behind
killing
a brand
Americans?
that is resulting in the death of Americans.
That's a heck of a thing to say to somebody, sir. That is totally false, and I take exception to that.
It's true, and everybody in America knows it.
I have not killed anybody, sir, and that is really exceptional.
Ms. Vaughn, when you go talk to Alexa Nungaray and talk about her daughter no longer being with us.
Beneath you as an individual to say that to somebody,
Ms.
sir.
Vaughn.
And I thought one of the powerful things as we move to the Senate as well is you had Democratic Senator Welch talking to Emil Bove. And Emil Bove is one of the top people at the Justice Department. He was Donald Trump's personal lawyer, and Emil Bove has now been nominated to be on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, basically one of the top judges in the country. And Emil Bove was the subject of a massive whistleblower letter by another top federal prosecutor who said Emil Bove told all of the prosecutors, F the judges, F them. But use the curse word. F the judges. Don't follow what they say. Do what the regime says. But here's another question where Senator Welch just says, who won the 2020 election? And watch, Emil Bove refuses to answer that question.
Who won the 2020 election for President of the United States?
President Biden was certified as the winner of that election.
So you give the standard answer. You can't say that he won because he got the majority of votes and also got the Electoral College victory?
I think the characterizations that you just made, Senator, are both political, and so I can't address them under the canons, and they're also tied up in ongoing litigation.
Help me understand how it's political to state who got the most votes in any election.
Senator, I'm just trying to be precise. The process by which our country declares the victor in an election is a certification process. President Biden was certified.
Now bring in Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, who then asks the question, cross-examines the crap out of Emile Beauvais. Did you tell your prosecutors who work for you at the Department of Justice that courts need to go F themselves and you should F what the courts say? Watch this.
Turn to the meeting that Mr. Ravani, the whistleblower, has written an extensive complaint about. The hearing started with the chairman reading a social media post by the Deputy Attorney General Blanche, who is present today but not under oath, nor is that social media post under oath. So let me ask you, since you are under oath, in the complaint it says, Beauvais stated that DOJ would need to consider telling the courts, fuck you, and ignoring any such court order. Did you say anything of that kind in the meeting?
Senator, I have no recollection of saying anything of that kind. To the extent I
Wouldn't you recall, Mr. Beauvais, if you said or suggested during a meeting with Justice Department lawyers that maybe they should consider telling the court, fuck you? It seems to me that would be something you'd remember, unless that's the kind of thing you say frequently.
Well, I've certainly said things encouraging litigators at the department to fight hard for valid positions that we have to take in defense of our clients.
And have you frequently suggested that they say fuck you and ignore court orders? Is that also something you frequently do, such you might not remember doing it on this occasion?
No. And as I explained, I have never directed.
So did you or did you not make those comments during that meeting?
Which comments, Senator?
You really need me to repeat it? Did you suggest, as Mr. Ravani wrote, that DOJ would need to consider telling the courts, fuck you, and ignore any such court order?
I did not suggest that there would be any need to consider ignoring court orders. At the point of that meeting, there were no court orders to discuss.
Well, did you suggest telling the courts, fuck you, in any manner?
I don't recall.
You just don't remember that.
Now that is how it is done right there. Next up, I want to show you Congresswoman Simon. And as a lot of these MAGA Republican witnesses, they start to invoke Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Here's what Congresswoman Simon says. Play this clip.
I want to be clear that 4 out of the 5 of you last year posted on your social media the words of Dr. King. And there are so few folks who actually have studied, who are clear on the theology of freedom of King. Very few of you have read and studied and have sat in Ebenezer Baptist Church. So I would ask you, you keep Dr. King's name out of your mouth. If you, like me and the many scholars who will be watching, studied King, you know that he and the mothers and the fathers of the civil rights movement and of the movement for emancipation not only would be struck by the conversations in this room, but would be shattered by the consequence of lies, of hatred, of abuse of this administration in the name of folks who worked to make this country more free.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popok's new law firm. It's called the Popok Firm. Michael Popok's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Meidas Mighty and legal AFers who are approaching Michael Popok with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popok was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popok Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popok's firm is free. Give him a call. See if you have a case. It's thepopokfirm.com, thepopokfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popok a call. And I'm really proud of you, Popok. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in. So one of the witnesses was Kari Lake, who now runs Voices of America, and she's basically trying to gut it from within. Congressmember Stanton is from Arizona. Watch what he says to her. This is perfect. Play this clip.
There's a more fundamental issue I want to address today, and that is character. You see, Ms. Lake, we have both been public figures in Arizona for a long time. I've seen you in action, including your behavior in the last 2 elections. And let me be clear about something. The American people cannot believe a word you say. You ran for governor in Arizona in 2022. You lost fair and square. Instead of conceding, you embarrassed yourself and our state by lying again and again for years, blaming everything under the sun for your loss, except for your own toxic politics. You lie about that election to this very day. You lied about signatures on mail-in ballots not matching those on file. Proven wrong. You lied about ballots being intentionally misprinted and then rejected in Republican areas. Total BS. You lied and said hundreds of thousands of ballots were mishandled. Zero evidence. You claimed fake ballots were snuck into batches before they were counted. Come on. You repeated these lies again and again, and you've said even recently, quote, I am the duly elected governor. They just stole it, unquote. Give me a break. Ms. Lake, your new role requires you to tell the truth. For decades, whenever authoritarians and dictators suppress the people and claim victory in fraudulent elections, Voice of America countered those lies. I can't imagine how people fighting for democracy today and around the world can trust someone who has so shamelessly lied about her own election.
Will the gentleman yield for
Ms.
the question?
Lake, no, I will not.
And he goes on. Let's watch it. Play this clip.
How
Let me
you
one
treat
final
other
question.
people that
The
are being
gentlelady
questioned.
will suspend, please. Go ahead. You may
You
continue.
lost for governor in 2022 to Katie Hobbs. You lost even worse to Ruben Gallego for Senate in 2024. Well, Arizona has another election for governor next year. Will you do us all a favor and run it back and run for governor again? I yield.
The gentlelady,
No more questions.
Can I respond
You may
to
respond.
some of that? Because that was complete insanity. I wish I could yield back the last 5 minutes of my life, actually. And I want to apologize to the people of Arizona that we have somebody who's representing the folks in one of our great parts of the Valley that doesn't care about the integrity of our elections.
And he goes on. Let's watch it. Play this clip.
You were formally sanctioned by the court. Ms. Lake, you have been sanctioned twice for providing false information to courts. Isn't that true? Yes or no?
I was brave enough to fight our shoddy elections, and the courts have not caught up.
That was a yes or no. I guess the answer is no. Let me reclaim my time. You have been sanctioned by both the United States District Court and the Arizona Supreme Court for, quote, making false factual statements to the court. And you were sued for defamation by a Republican election official, Stephen Richer. He and his family were subjected to harassment and even death threats because of those lies. You told your supporters, Richer and fellow Republican County Supervisor Bill Gates, that they, quote, sabotaged Election Day. You accused them of deliberately printing the wrong image on ballots to jam tabulators and injecting hundreds of thousands of phony ballots. What a joke.
And then Kari Lake, as she starts getting more and more defensive, she holds up a photo of her cult leader, Donald Trump, and she's like, look at him. Look at his face. Look at this man. Look at this. Look at him. Do we all see him? How freaking weird is this? Play this clip.
But most of all, what we reviewed was an executive order, March 14th, by the man who's in charge of the executive branch.
I want to know.
His name is Donald Trump.
Do you have a record that you can produce? The chairman said you had a bunch of things with you. Do you have a record of what you reviewed and who you reviewed to?
We reviewed the statute.
Do you have a record? Yes or no?
We have the statute. And
Do you
we
have a
reviewed
record?
the statute. Yeah, we can pull that statute for
If you have it, not the statute, the record of individuals that you reviewed interviewed or talked to before you committed your actions of dismantling?
I talked to a lot of people at the agency.
Do you have a record of that?
You could go back and look at emails.
Do you have a record?
Do you want me to pull emails?
I want you to show the record of what you did, Ms. Lake.
Well, you can
Don't
take a
just
look
give
at
me
it.
something that's not verified. Tell me, show me the record, because that's what I hear oftentimes in the business. You have to have a record. Show me the record that you did what you did. That's all.
Then you had Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. She was being asked questions about Trump's meme coin dinner. And I want you to watch all of the gaslighting here. Let me show it to you here. Play this clip.
This solicitation of investments in his personal product, his meme coin, led to many people who were coming from foreign countries attending that dinner. Don't you think the American people have a right to know? And you said yourself, you're very concerned about foreign influence on our government.
Senator, it is wildly offensive that you would accuse President Trump of not protecting American interest in our country when he is the president that has shut down our borders, unlike Joe Biden. President Trump has done everything to make America safe. And you asked me the question, and keep America safe.
Do you
and
know?
You're trying to play a gotcha question at a budget hearing when you have murders left and right in your state, violent crimes, and we are doing everything we can to help your liberal state, whether you're liberal or not. We're going to do everything we can to help the citizens of your state. And you're trying to avoid that because you're trying to play a gotcha question with the president of the United States, and it's not going to work. We're here to talk about our budget for public safety.
I do believe that as the leader of the Department of Justice, you should be concerned about foreign influence. There was obviously a lot of foreign influence and individuals who said they were there for that reason.
And then Senator Merkley says, so are you going to recommend any ethics guidelines to make sure that foreign influence doesn't find its way into the doors of the White House? More gaslighting from here. Here, play this clip.
Department of
It speaks
Justice.
volumes that you won't answer the question about transparency when the president is asking people to invest in his company and his products, and that foreigners are attending these events. I think transparency would be appropriate. Are you going to recommend any ethics guidelines to make sure that foreign influence does not find its way in through the doors of the White House?
How do you characterize foreigners, the illegal aliens that have flowed into our country? Is that who you're talking about? You don't want to talk about them. You don't want to talk about the crime that has gone rampant throughout this country and your state.
She's then asked by Senator Murray, so will you not allow the conduct by Todd Blanche and Emile Bove to tell prosecutors at the DOJ to go F the federal courts, or don't effing follow what the courts say, or F them? Because that seems to be unlawful if they're doing that. Do you not support that, or do you support that? Here, play this clip.
I just want you to confirm for this, you will not allow conduct like that at the DOJ. Yes or no?
I will always support and defend Emil Bove, and I will defend Todd Blanche. They are two of the finest people I know, and two
I
of
was
the
asking
ethical
about the
people
conduct.
I know.
And then Congressmember Stanton asked Kari Lake, are you going to admit that Trump lost the election? Play this clip.
Are you finally ready to admit you lost the 2022 Arizona election?
It saddens me that you are from Arizona and you're okay with
That's
the way
a yes or no question, Ms.
saddens
Lake.
me that you are from Arizona.
I guess the answer is no. Reclaiming my time.
The gentleman will suspend, will stop the clock. For all present, members are reminded to avoid engaging in personality toward the president and other members. Okay, and this is a member of the administration, so I would caution all to stay on the subjects and stay off of personalities, please. Gentlemen may continue.
Yes, and in this case, these are adjudicated lies. Courts of law have determined that these are lies. These are not me saying it. You didn't just lie to the press.
The courts are really awesome.
You took those lies to court.
And then I like this last clip right here of Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren saying, just explain to the American people what has changed in the last 6 months that has caused the Fed to forecast higher inflation right now. Watch what civil, normal, intelligent conversation looks like. Play this clip.
So, Chair Powell, the Fed released its updated economic projections last week, and I appreciate your summary, but I want to look at the trend lines here. The Fed's outlook on inflation, the labor market, and GDP growth have all gotten worse. Compared to your economic projections in December, the latest numbers show that the Fed is now projecting higher inflation from 2.5% in December now to 3.1%. Higher unemployment from 4.3% to 4.5%. Lower economic growth from 2.1% projected just 6 months ago to 1.4% that you're now projecting. Chair Powell, what has changed in the last 6 months that has caused the Fed to forecast substantially higher inflation, somewhat higher unemployment, and lower economic growth than you did in December?
So some of it is just taking signal from data reports that we've seen. Some of it is people working in the possible effects in the short term of tariffs. We have no view on the wisdom or the longer term effects of trade policy. It's not our job. And by the way, I should add, our forecasts are generally, and in this case, are very, very similar to what outside forecasts are.
I understand that. I'm just using you as the gold standard here. I know it's consistent. But you mentioned tariffs as one of the things that has changed over the last 6 months. You know, Donald Trump has become president and the economy has headed down. Not only does the Fed data now show slower growth and higher prices this year, it sees slower growth and higher prices over the next 2 years as well. And the Fed sees no longer-term boost to the economy or drop in inflation. In other words, no upside to Trump's chaotic tariff war or his other economic policies.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5.5 million subscribers. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. 6.5 million subscribers. Okay, 6 million subscribers. Thank you for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.